We're back on a Sunday. Welcome back to another episode of The Source. Sizzling hot this week. A good amount of games today, but we are going to be betting light. VIPs, we're betting light today. But there's still value here. Don't get me wrong. We could still pick up a couple units today / tonight, but we're going to take it light. There's no reason to blow some of our winnings from this week on a night where there's a couple iffy games. So let's get into it.
Welcome to The Source. Hey, get the source. The source. The source. Hey, get the source.
First up, Bucks versus Nets in Milwaukee. The battle for the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. This is a huge game. You know both these teams are showing up. We're looking at possibly the second and third best teams in the entire Eastern Conference. Obviously, first being the Knicks. This line of Milwaukee -1.5. Early bets and early money actually on the Nets, though. We got a money flip, though, in this game. Later in the morning, the action flips back towards Milwaukee. Now the money's leaning towards the Bucks, and the consensus line reacts. It moves from 1.5 up to Milwaukee -2.5. Kyrie Irving is playing. Kevin Durant is playing. I'm taking Brooklyn, man. I'm not fading this team. Durant is an assassin, man. I'm actually scared to bet against Durant when he's in there's a chip on my shoulder mode, when he's got like something to prove, you know what I'm saying? Which is often because he's so goddamn sensitive. He's always like pissed. Another reason I like the Nets here. Do you know what Milwaukee's #1 defensive weakness is in the last 30 days analytically? Defense against the 3-point shot. They're having trouble keeping opponents from getting open looks from 3. The Nets have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, both elite shooters in their own rights. Surround those two with Joe Harris, who sometimes doesn't even know how to miss. And I even like Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson gets hot from deep too. I'm taking Brooklyn +2.5. I actually like this pick. Throwing it on the menu. If anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, and Facebook. Actually, nothing's definitely going to change. By the time you watch this video, that game will be almost starting. So you might have to rush to get that bet in. Next game up, Celtics, Blazers in Boston. This line opened with the Celtics laying a point to Portland, which I thought was a little weird, a little sketchy there. Early bets and early money were pretty much split even. Later in the morning and in the afternoon, we have some Celtics money in, but the line's moving the opposite direction. Went from Boston -1. Now we're looking at Boston +1.5, and I think it's going to keep moving. I think Las Vegas as a whole, these sports books are scared. They don't want you betting the Blazers. They're scared of Portland right now. Portland's been routing teams. I mean, who's fading the Blazers right now? Portland's 3 games into a road trip, right? They played 3 road games on this trip so far. They've won all 3 by 19 or more points. They're smashing teams right now. The Blazers are dialed in right now. I'm not going to be the one to fade them. I'm taking Portland -1.5 or -2.5 or 3 is probably where it'll end up. We'll see. I do think the Celtics show up for this game. I think they do make it a close game, but Portland's the right side to be on. Throw that on the menu. If anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, and Facebook. The Facebook group is Winning Cappers, by the way. That's where you can see it. Also, I'm called The Sauce Network on Facebook. Next game. It's New York Knicks basketball time, baby. Knicks are in Houston to play the Rockets. Line open Houston +9.5. And as you would expect, the entire world's on the Knicks. Bets, money, everything stays pinned on the Knicks all morning, all the way into the afternoon. Consensus line jumps from 9.5 up to Houston +10.5 now. 10.5 points is a lot to lay on the road. That being said, you already know I'm taking the Knicks. I mean, you can just skip this one and go to the next game. Knicks -10.5 is on the menu. I will never, ever, ever fade the Knicks on this show. If anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, and Facebook next game. Next game up is Thunder, Suns in Oklahoma City. This line opened OKC +15. And the reason I'm laughing is because the Thunder are getting 15 points at home. This is an NBA team, not a G League team. They just gave up 152 or 153 points to the Pacers. This is not an NBA quality team right here that we're dealing with. And people are still betting the Suns. Money's on the Suns, by the way. So much money is on the Suns that the consensus line actually goes up from OKC +15. Now we're at OKC +16. I'll take the Suns -16 or whatever. I'll throw it up here on the screen, but this is not going to touch the menu. A 16-point road favorite? That's just a little absurd. So Suns -16. I doubt it ends up on the menu, but we'll see. If anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, Facebook next game. Next game up is Spurs Sixers in San Antonio. This line opens San Antonio +6. This should be a good game, by the way. Early money, definitely on the Sixers. Now, the money stays pinned on Philly all morning into the afternoon. Consensus line never moves, which I'm going to be honest, that scares me a little. With all that Philly money, I would have liked to see it move from 6 to 6.5. I'm not going to freak out or call trap or anything. It does scare me a little. I hate to side with all that money. I hate to side with the public here. But Philly's the right side to be on, man. I mean, they're fully healthy. They're looking like they're completely ready for the playoffs today if it started. Philly looks great recently, and it looks like San Antonio is going to be without D. Murray, who is my favorite player on that team. I can't believe how bad DeMar DeRozan was in the final minutes of that Celtics game. I don't know if you watched it or not, but the Spurs blew like a 30-point lead. It's close at the end, goes to overtime, and the Spurs lose. They cover, though. I had plus 4.5. They covered. DeMar DeRozan in the final 4 minutes and overtime in that game was 2 for 8 with 2 turnovers. And if you watched it, the Spurs are going down and they were just giving him looks over and over again, and this dude was just not pulling through. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be that guy that gets you a bucket when you need it. He was not there for the Spurs in that Celtics game. Anyway, my bad, got sidetracked there. I'm going Sixers -6, throwing it on the menu. If anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, Facebook, next game. Next game up is Hornets versus Heat in Charlotte. This line opened with the Hornets getting 5 points at home. So we got a little home dog Hornets here. Early bets were even, early money slightly favoring the Heat. Same story for the rest of the morning into the afternoon. The money stays slightly leaning towards Miami. No movement in the consensus line. I did, however, see a few books moving from 5 to 5.5. Not enough to move the consensus line, though. Seems like Miami found themselves a little bit of a groove in the last 2 games. They're playing a lot better. I'm going to take the Heat here, but I'm not putting it on the menu because Charlotte is finally healthy. Devontae Graham, I think, is questionable for this game, but they got LaMelo Ball and Malik Monk back. So I'm laying the points with Miami, but it's not going on the menu, at least for now. It probably stays off, though. Anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, and Facebook. Next game. Next game up, Mavericks, Kings in Dallas. This line opened with the Mavericks laying 6.5 points at home here. Early money was leaning Mavericks, 69% of early money on Dallas. The money kind of bounces around a little in this game. In the late morning, we get a bunch of Mavericks money. And then after that, closer to noon, we get a bunch of Kings money. So we're right where we started. Money slightly leaning towards Dallas. Consensus line never moves, Dallas -6.5. The Mavericks are about to smack the shit out of the Kings. I know Dallas is on a back-to-back, and I know Porzingis is not going to play, but I'm telling you the table is set for a Mavericks blowout victory. The Kings are coming off an emotional win over the Lakers the other night. That was just 2 nights ago. Still no Darren Fox. Still no Harrison Barnes either. I like the Mavericks by double digits easily. Comfortable win here. Give me Dallas -6.5. Lock it in. Throw it on the menu. Anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, and Facebook. Next game. Next game up, Lakers versus Raptors in Los Angeles. This line opened with the Lakers laying 6.5 points. Early actions on the Lakers, we're talking 83% of early money on the Lakers. Money stays on the Lakers all morning into the afternoon, and that eventually causes the consensus line to move from Lakers -6.5. Now we're looking at Lakers -7.5. I don't like this game at all. I mean, I believe in the Raptors right now, but the right play here situationally is the Lakers laying the points. But hold up, take a look at the Lakers injury report for this game. What the hell am I supposed to do with that? What are we supposed to do with that? That is some bullshit, man. I'm not going to sit here and complain about the NBA. I'm not going to turn that into this kind of a rant or whatever. But you mean to tell me that 70% of the roster is questionable? Like, they really don't know who's going to play? Why is that information not public? Whatever. So Lakers -7.5, nowhere near the menu. Anything changes, Twitter, Instagram story, and Facebook. That's it for today's episode. VIPs, stay looking for the text. Actually, I may send it all by email today, 5:30 Eastern time. If you do not have the VIP write-up by 6 p.m. Eastern time, contact me immediately, and I'll make sure you get it. Remember, light today. Maybe even reduce the size of your units. Just throw 1 unit on the Nets. I don't want you going all in on anything. I don't want us losing any of our winnings today. We're looking for a 2-unit come up today. Light. Conservative, like we always do. Pick your spots, play smart. I will talk to you on Twitter. Let's make some money.